right here, Big Right. Was this the right one? Temple and UCF going off on Friday.
That goes tomorrow night, I believe.
Oh, Thursday. Okay, Thursday.
I think it's a Thursday night game. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to give them a little early look on a game that I was possibly looking at. Now you were talking about the buys right early on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
This is really interesting here. So Temple is coming off a 12-day buy, right? And Temple's been one of these teams where, they're 2-3, they're 1-4 to the under, 3-2 on the money, on the ATS. Not a bad look. They have a lot of struggles, putting points up, but their defense is pretty good. They got a pretty solid defense. Temple does overall. They're a gritty team. They have a hard time taking care of the football, though. That's where it's at for Temple. Temple's been struggling holding on to the ball. UCF, on the other hand, they got a first-year quarterback. He's a wide receiver. We've talked about him on our show, and we've talked on the Saturday show. John Rice Plumlee. He was a run-first type quarterback, but now he's starting to find a little bit of rhythm. But I want to jump back into this buy situation a little bit. So UCF has played on they played 5 games, and they've been on 4 different days of the week. They started out on a Thursday. That was their first game against SMU, I believe. And I'm sorry, not SMU. I forget the game early on. It was a Thursday game. Then they come back and they play a Friday game. So now they're playing an extra day's rest there. Then they come back and they play on a Saturday game. That's an extra day's rest there. Then they play back-to-back Saturdays. And then they come back and play on a Wednesday because of the hurricane. So they got 12 days off there. And now they're coming back on a Thursday, which is 8 days rest. So, I mean, this team has been getting like extra rest every game almost, with the exception of one, albeit, the hurricane, for them when they played SMU on that beatdown that they had with SMU. So, and this is another team, surprisingly enough, we always equate UCF with the high scoring offense, but that's kind of changed with Plumlee here. Cause I think with him, they were trying to kind of get him into the system, kind of make plays with his legs, and he's got a solid running back from an Alabama transfer. So they're utilizing his legs, the running back from Javon. I'm sorry, the wide receiver. Everything was in transition for this team. So I was hitting the unders pretty hard with them, and it showed because they were 4-1, and they're 1-4 to the under also. So I've been hitting them pretty good up on the unders with UCF, even though it was a higher score game, and they almost put the game over themselves against SMU that week. But this week, I think we're going to get a whole different look, because now in all those games, the totals have been like 50, like mid-50s to high 60s. Now we're looking at a 46. So it's going to get a little dicey here to try to catch an under with UCF here. And the other thing is the number is sitting at 23.5, which is a pretty good number, down from 26, by the way, on the open. So, Temple's been taking a little bit of money. I think the total's pretty much been the same. So, what I'd like to do here is possibly look at, if you like UCF, I think you're going to like the over here, because I think finally this might be a game where, we might see UCF might be pretty close to not putting the game over themselves, but I can see UCF getting in the 30s in this spot here, like 30, 31, 34 points. The question is Temple going to get 2 touchdowns to put it close, which UCF's defense is pretty good. So even with that lower number, if UCF has a decent game, they could put it over themselves. But if Temple decides to participate in the festivities and take care of the football, I can see this thing sneaking over the total here. I haven't made an official plan on it, but that's what I'm saying. These are 2 under teams where I think the books have kind of caught up to the number, but we might get a sneaky over here in this spot.
I like it, man. It looks like they were able to put up at least 2 touchdowns in every game up until this point. So
yeah,
they could be good for 2. I mean,
the thing I like about it is now, and I didn't talk about this, but I brought up the Alabama transfer, Javian Baker. He's sitting on a big game. Plumlee, I think he might do we might get a 300-yard game out of him this game finally. So he's kind of been working the game with his legs, and then he's starting to throw the ball a little bit more now. So I think this might be a good opportunity to kind of not expose Temple's defense, because Temple's defense is pretty good. But I think if anything could happen, they might be able to throw the ball on them a little bit. I think they're going to have a tough time running. So I think they might mix it up with the pass. So we might see more of a balanced attack here at a UCF. And like we've seen in the past couple games, especially like in that SMU game where they've kind of put some downfield action. And SMU's defense, with Sonny Dykes going over there, he's all about offense, selling out the offense. It's going to be a little bit at the time before SMU comes around on the defense. So naturally they took advantage of that there. So, but Temple definitely try to slow the run down. So we might see some bigger plays at the UCF. We like to say we might see Plumlee get 300 yards this game. So I think it's a sneaky over. And I don't know about covering that number, but I like the over. Sneaky over.
I know for me, in situations like this, it's always a weird outcome when you have such a low number in the total and such a high number in the spread. It kind of makes you wonder, like, how do you get to that total or not get to that total?
Look at the Iowa game. I mean, the Iowa game, it was sitting at 36 last week. And even in the chat, I told Ian, or on the show last week, I said, I got this thing capped in the 20s, and it finished 9-6. I mean, so you think, man, that's a real low number. And here you go, you get a 9-6 finish. So
yeah, so I would be automatically, just the DJ in me probably be leaning at taking the 23 and putting it in my pocket, relying on
Temple on the 23. I wouldn't argue with that look there.
That's a pretty big number this far in the season. I would have to do a little further investigating to see why do they think that number is valid so far in the season. And I've heard some good things about Temple this year, not like in the past. So I would expect some good things from Temple. But let's keep it moving, man. Jump on over.